Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Front Line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, as always, joined by Joe Resinello. And once more, dear brothers and sisters, let us go into the breach. Joe, I told you a story a couple of weeks ago, right? You have a guy walks into a 7-Eleven. Let's face it, most 7-Elevens, they're owned by immigrants. A lot of them happen to be from Asia. They're either Indian or Pakistani, okay? And this guy comes walking in. He looks like a real hobo, but he's got a trash bin, and he's throwing all the cigarettes in there, right? All this, he's taking them off the counter. He's throwing them all in there. Nobody's doing anything. This guy feels like he could get away with it. He's just loading up his trash bin. And these two Indians or Pakistanis or whatever they were that own the place, they proceeded to beat the crap out of this guy. Now, I know one thing that's not going to happen. That guy is not going to walk into another 7-Eleven or probably any other store and try that again. Sometimes, Joe, okay, we have to make an example of somebody. This is a clip from Jakarta. Couple guys trying to steal a motorcycle. Watch this. Now, Joe Resinello, now I got to laugh a little bit, all right? Remember back in the day, because we had neighborhoods. Now, obviously, that's a neighborhood in Jakarta. And if somebody was like, if you caught somebody trying to steal a car, right, you had about 50 people coming out of their house chasing the guy down the block or the couple of guys down the block, similar to this video. You got to do that sometimes. You have to, because especially now in America, because we have a two-tier justice system, you have people going into all these stores, whether it's Walgreens, whether it's Louis Vuitton in Midtown Manhattan. You could just walk in and take whatever you want. And sometimes you're going to have to do something about it. And what I liked about this video was it was reminiscent of, let's say, Newark back in the day, because this guy went out to go and retrieve his property from these two guys. But did you see what happened about 15 seconds into it? He's trying to fight these guys off, but then everybody in the neighborhood saw it. And then they swooped in, they chased those guys away, and what's the net result? Rather than stealing a bike, the two guys that tried to steal the bike lost their bike and probably got the crap beat out of them in the process. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Well, here's the thing. What you're talking about, to a degree, is a breakdown of society. There's a big difference, or at least there should be, between Jakarta and New York City.
There ain't.
But sadly, there isn't. But here's where it is, and I'm going to get to that. You're seeing vigilantism, people taking the law into their own hands. Now, when there is no law, people have no other choice but to do that. You can't just allow someone to take your property, hurt your family.
But aren't they doing that in America right now?
But that is, to be honest with you, if you ask me, and now I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat, that is why you have these activist DAs. They're breaking down society. I think that's on purpose.
Sure.
I think they're funded to do just that. To be honest with you, they're the tools of the machine, because then the state has to swoop in.
Well, let me ask you this, just to throw one more thing out to you. So what happens is, if you happen to be Joe Resinello, if you happen to be the owner of that 7-Eleven and you beat the crap out of the guy who's stealing your product off the shelves, you're going to be the one that's going to jail, by the way.
Potentially. And that's another disturbing thing. But I'm going to tell you another reality. You talked about Midtown Manhattan at Louis Vuitton. By the way, that's not happening at Louis Vuitton, because I walk up Central Park South and go to St. Patrick's to Mass sometimes on Fridays. And all those stores on Fifth Avenue have private security. And that's what happens in banana republics. The rich can afford for private security. Their store doesn't get broken into. Those security officers have guns and they have licenses to carry them, and they're protected. Guess who's not protected? You. Once again, they don't represent you. See, Joe, I just wish people would open their eyes to that. We've been saying this now for 4 to 5 years. But people can't get past the fact because they're not grounded in anything anymore. Sadly, our families have broken down. People don't belong to religious communities, so they have to form a tribe, and that because it's human, that tribe is political, and they can't see past the walls of their tribe. Even when their political ideology that they support is cannibalizing them, and they are being cannibalized. I just gave the example. Walk into the subway. You could
Right.
have voted for the Democrat. By the way, you're getting mugged too. When you
Right.
take $1 billion out of the police budget, that's what happens.
And and the way you said it, I think is true. It's by design. If you need to destroy America, you need to destroy. Well, you have to control our institutions, as you pointed out a million times at the front line with Joe and Joe. They certainly do that. Antonio Gramsci, he proposed that 100 years ago about controlling the institutions, cultural hegemony, picked up later on by the German communist Rudi Dutschke. The long march through the institutions. They've done it. It's here. It's been here for a while, but now it's more pronounced. It's in your face. So they control the government. They control the education system. They control the media. They control business now. They control Wall Street. That's what ESG is all about. So that if a group of guys like that, let's say let's not say Newark, let's just say Bloomfield, New Jersey. Okay, somebody goes to steal your car and a bunch of people come running out of their house and beat the crap out of that guy. They're all going to jail. See, that's a breakdown. Because the law should be protecting those people. They feel that the law is not on their side, and then they're going to react like these people in Jakarta reacted. Joe, I'm going to give you the final word.
There should be a big difference between New York City and Jakarta, and there isn't anymore.
Right.
It simply isn't. Our society is breaking down. And I'm going to be truthful with you. That's why we're not voting ourselves out of this, because no matter who wins, that pushback, there's too many people who think otherwise. Joe, that's the problem. Like, honestly, Donald Trump may win, or maybe someone else who's a Republican. There's millions upon millions upon millions of Americans who have a distorted view of the Constitution, of justice, and of the law.
Right.
And to change them will be a miracle.
Well,
And-
we definitely need a paradigm shift in this country. And I'll say from my own personal point of view, I've gone through it in my life. I had to question the things that I believed as a conservative. I'm still conservative, but I'm more outside the tribe now. Just because George Bush says something, just because Newt Gingrich says something, just because any conservative says something, doesn't mean that I should knee-jerk listen to it. I should critically think about it and then make a decision about what I think. But that's not what happens. A paradigm shift is what's needed. Priorities need to change. And if you think just having a D at the end of somebody's name is something that's beneficial to you at this point in history in America, you really need to question what it is you're thinking. You really do. And I'm not being judgmental. You really need to think critically of what you stand for. Thanks for joining us at the front line with Joe and Joe. Joe Pasillo, Joe Rossinello. See you next time.